Okay.
All right.
There, so we can see the PowerPoint. Then if you just want to do the start presentation mode.
Okay. Wait, what did I do?
You just do from beginning right there over to the left.
Oh, right. Is that gonna, okay. Do you guys want me to start yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining for the 3 o'clock session for the Ohio Association of Institutional Research and Planning Conference. We are you're having Nancy Ron here speaking today in a minute, and she's our Student Success Coordinator as well as the Director of Retention. And my name is Marilyn Valencia, and I have a Master's of Public Affairs from Indiana University, and I'm the Institutional Research Analyst from Ursuline College. So what we were seeing at Ursuline was, erratic retention and graduation rates and overall downward trends. We realized that we were underserving students. Students were leaving without a degree. Perhaps many had debt and outstanding balances. So we were underserving the community as well. And enrollment patterns were not cost effective. So when students leave, that's the bottom line for sure. So we joined the HLC Student Success Academy. It was called Persistence and Completion at that time. And their guidance was look at your data. So we realized that when we looked at our data that first year GPA of students that left would be lower than students who were retained. So, academic performance differs by demographics and affects retention as well. And so we wanted to drill down on that. So we were informed to disaggregate populations. That seems to be the big thing right now. Gartner and other organizations are definitely promoting this approach. So the gaps in our retention rates for first-time, full-time populations varied for the historically underrepresented students versus the white students, 8% difference, average 5-year gap in retention. And for Pell eligible students, 9% lower for the Pell eligible students. So again, the academic performance differs by demographics and affects retention. So we wanted to get other data to see what else was going on, to get qualitative data from the campus. So we had a convenient survey was conducted by a student intern of actually our athletic director who was on our HLC Academy team, our cross-campus team. And she, one of the questions from the survey was, did you ever need help with anything here at Ursuline and not know where to go? So we had 56 respondents. It was a spring afternoon, and 32% responded yes. And then about a third of the respondents were first year students from that fall, and 47% of them had responded yes. So there were 19 first year students and 9 of them had said yes. So, so the considerations we were understanding were that the academic interventions in that had been in place were underserving students. We also realized that there was limited programming to address economic challenges, including students with Pell. They just had like a video they were supposed to be watching when they first arrive on campus. So I realized that there was some opportunity costs for students not achieving or reaching their potential. And we wanted to take a more holistic approach to working with students so that all students could, because, you know, it's a fluid thing. Students needing help when they need help changes, and some students just need one intervention or one meeting, and other students might need many more. So we decided to implement a more proactive, intrusive advising approach for struggling students. And so we launched 2 key initiatives. Why is my mouse not working? Oops. Sorry. I don't know why that worked. No, sorry, I've got a slow, my internet might be kind of slow. This happened to me yesterday. Oh. Nothing like keeping you on the edge of your seats with those 2 interventions. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Let's see. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting it's a white screen. Here we go. Let's try this again. Does anybody know what's going on?
So, Marilyn, it might be better if you don't do it through the web browser, if you like downloaded an open PowerPoint and then share that as your screen, so it's not having to hit your internet, your bandwidth.
It's on my OneDrive, so.
So you had it open there, or yeah, okay. Where did you have, show me where you had it open again.
Yeah, because we could see the file for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about this, guys.
There had to be one snafu today, right? Couldn't all go perfectly.
Hey!
But at least we haven't been cyber bombed yet.
Right.
So if you do those 3 little dots right there next to it, Marilyn, you see that? Down where it says Ursuline College Collaboration, and there's 3 little, nope.
Where, Molly?
So right there, the 3 little dots that are vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. And then is there a download? Download.
Oh, okay. Useful.
Yeah.
I know my
Perfect.
teeth.
Okay, thank you.
And then just go ahead and do enable editing, and that'll just kind of make it a little bit easier for you to navigate that yellow bar up at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then let's just go ahead and go to slideshow. Here we go. Yay. So then you should be able to just hit like your arrow. Yep.
So we started, how do I get rid of this? Sorry. How do I get rid of this?
So we're seeing just your slide right now, Marilyn.
Oh,
So-
okay. Thank you. So we launched these 2 key initiatives. First one was the formation of a student success coordinator role. And the person is Nancy. We hired in the fall, in the summer before fall. And she reports to the academic vice president. And her experience is broad. It's in instruction administration, intrusive advising, and student support. And then we also launched something that we had thought about when we were at one of the HLC Academy professional development in Chicago events, and it was listening session initiative. And interestingly, they are now promoting this idea for all the new cohorts in the academy. So we did what we called empathy interviews with faculty and staff to learn of their strategies, their successes, and their challenges in the classroom. And we spoke with about a dozen instructors who were teaching gateway courses generally, first-year courses that are more difficult. And sometimes we followed up with them. And then the sessions were conducted by myself as well as with Nancy. And then sometimes we had a couple other instructor members from the academy team. And right in these sessions, the faculty and the student success coordinator began discussion of students that were experiencing challenges right at that time. It was in the fall, and it really paved the way for further interaction. The faculty got to know Nancy, and I think they were quite surprised when she would literally, they were discussing specific students and her, what she had already mentioned to them, things like that. So Nancy, take it away.
Hi, everybody. One of the first things I want to say about retention and dealing with retention is, there's no magic bullet, and it absolutely requires collaboration across a campus in order to get it done. In my role as the student success coordinator and as the person that oversees retention, I get to be the chief warrior about retention. It doesn't fall down just to me, but I get to be the chief warrior about that. And that's really an important thing to understand about retention, is that it does require this collaboration. So once I got on campus, the first thing I did was I began listening and talking to faculty. And this initiative had been already talked about, so we were able to follow through, and it was really helpful because at that time I could hear what were the challenges. I could hear where faculty was frustrated, and at times they had concerns. They had actually expressed concerns about not being heard, that they might express a concern, but then no one was hearing them, or no one was doing what they needed to be doing. So with having understanding of the Gen Z student and knowing that a Gen Z student is not a student who is going to come and ask for help, which is why the intrusive advising is so important. You have to go to the students. And having these listening sessions was one way to see how we needed to approach the students. So among our conversations, we started to talk about, well, what are some additional resources that our students could use? One of the things that popped up was the recitation session. And we do have a few faculty that are using these sessions, and our goal is to, as once we return to campus and some other sort of normal, that we hope to see these expand. And we're looking to get resources so that we can have these expand using, grads and using, whether it be people who are running the labs or just people other than faculty, because we recognize, and one of the things that faculty recognizes is that students require explanation in more than one way. So with that said, we were also able to expand tutoring opportunities, because what we heard from faculty was, look, I've got these students, they won't come back to me for help, but I need to get help for them. So we've been able to work with the tutoring coordinator and expanded tutoring opportunities. One thing that I was able to do was actually pull tutoring over into my area. So it's another area for students to come to and be tutored. Along the way, in conversations with faculty and conversations with staff, and quite frankly, I spend a lot of time with Marilyn looking at numbers, and I feel like I'm in a good position because Marilyn has an excellent insight into what the numbers mean. And it really is very helpful for us to talk about these things. But out of this came Student Success Week. And what we did with Student Success Week is we took a week where every day there were 2 or 3 opportunities for students to attend something that was out of the norm, but it was something that either faculty saw that they were weak in or students had expressed they needed help in. For example, we did things like Google Like a Scholar, where folks from the library came over. They actually did this in the dorms, and they also did it in a location in another building where they actually taught students how to properly use Google for things other than downloading movies. But we had a lot of things like note-taking, just annotating a textbook, all of those sort of things, and they were done in a way that students didn't have to sign up. We took it to students. We did career services things during lunch where we had the audiences. So students participated without having to sign up, without having to actually come. And that's really what that intrusive advising is all about. It's taking things to the students. So this was just another way of doing this. Along the way, we also created the personal librarian program, where every single student that comes in, every new student that comes into Ursuline College is assigned a personal librarian. And that librarian reaches out to the students in the beginning of the school year, introduces themselves, tells them what they're there for. Students, they will check in with them on a regular basis. The personal librarian will help a student navigate through an assignment. They'll help them with research. They will even help them with finding resources that are online and free resources, even where students need, maybe are having trouble getting materials for a class because of the cost of textbooks. All of these have been, we've seen success with these programs, but we need to continue to expand them and continue to work on these programs. Once I got on the campus, we were able to establish the Office of Student Success. I'm in a great location where my office is actually located within the Student Success Center. We have this location on campus where it's a computer lab. I have areas in there where students can pick up resources. You know, a lot of times students want help, but they don't necessarily want to sit with somebody. And when they can take resources with them, that is helpful because it also brings those students into the center, sometimes just to pick up the resources. And by resources, I mean I have things like APA format, the newest edition, the 8th edition of APA format, how to do online research, things about writing, all of these kind of things that it helps them to be able to take something with them. Because when I established the Office of Student Success, I also established an online presence in our intranet, where we have a site which is Student Success. And all the resources that they can find within the center are also located on the site. So they don't actually even have to leave their computer to come get that. The Student Success Center and the Office of Student Success really provided a place for faculty and staff who were unsure of who they needed to go to. One of the things I tell students all the time, if you don't know where to start, start at the Office of Student Success, because I can get you to the right spot. So we've done that with faculty and staff as well, that when they need a place to start in getting a student help, or maybe they can't locate a student. That's kind of one of the things right now, is sometimes students kind of fall off the radar right now with everybody being away from the campus. This is the place for them to start. So my task in my first year was to organize myself, get an efficient and an effective system for being able to find students, as well as referring students to resources, and also communication with faculty. And one of the ways we did that to start was we opened up with the week 4 alert. There's mixed reviews in the literature about when to start alerts, but I'm a firm believer that you need to know by week 3 or 4 what students are having trouble, that if you wait beyond that, it is much harder to get them back on track. So we send out a week 4 alert, and we are tying this in with our database system, but at this time, we are using a spreadsheet system where it goes out to faculty, it has the class list, and all they have to tell me on that week 4 alert is whether they are doing poorly, they're fair, or they're good. I contact students that fall in the poor category and maybe in the fair category. A lot of times it depends on what I already know about the student. But what that does is that allows me to get in touch with a student, allows me to get a lot of times face-to-face with a student, find out what troubles they are having, what are their challenges, and get them to the right people. And the gratitude from the students is really, it's really more than I ever expected. That I constantly get notes back from students that say, hey, thanks for checking in on me. It's good to see that someone's watching. I feel good that someone cares about what I'm doing. So the week 4 alert not only is helpful to the faculty and staff, but it's helpful to the students, because sometimes students, and there is no reason for a student to not know how they're doing, but there are students that sit in front of me. I have a magic chair in my office where everybody that sits there says they're doing fine. And even though I may know better. But after the week 4 alert, after we go through that whole, by the time I get through those week 4 alerts, we're moving on to the midterm alerts. At midterm, we are asking for grades. At this time, I need to see who is a C- or below. But these have been extremely helpful in getting students to the right resources in a timely manner and making sure that students can finish the semester successfully. Meryl, if you'll move the slide. When I arrived at Ursuline College, I was a little surprised to know that we did not have an early alert system. But I was also happy to find out that our VPAA was already talking about that. So we were able to get together and work on getting an early alert system. We do it through Genzabar, which is our database. The Genzibar Early Alert System means that now we have a centralized system available to all faculty and staff that if they have any concern about a student, this system sits within my office. So if faculty and staff have a concern about a student, sometimes it's things that they might overhear, a student saying something about a financial difficulty, that maybe they're going to be losing their apartment, they're going to be being able to have stable housing, or if the student hasn't shown up to some classes, or even grades, or if even there's behavioral issues. These are all things that they can report in the system. And it's the report comes directly to me. This system is such that we can set it up that students would receive the alert. I have chosen to not do that because I found that faculty and staff were less likely to be completely honest about what was going on because they were afraid of who was seeing it. Now everybody knows that I'm the one that sees it, and once I see that, I act on that immediately. I check the alert system 2, 3, 4 times a day, depending on the time of year. Anything that is posted in there, I will assign a follow-up to. Sometimes I assign the follow-up to me, but that alert automatically goes out to the advisor. So as soon as the alert is posted, there's a confirmation that goes to the faculty member or staff member, and one that goes to the advisor. And I see that. So then what I do is I either put an intervention in place or I assign somebody to follow up for that. And again, what this has done, it has decreased the amount of time between finding out that a student needs help and getting them to resources. So having this timely referral has definitely improved retention, especially for our students that are most at risk. One of the things that I hear probably every day from faculty is about underprepared students. And I think everybody in higher ed, this is a constant conversation, is that students are underprepared. And certainly, you know, this has taken on a whole new ball game for this year. And as we move to the fall classes, to see how well prepared the students will be. So talking with faculty, talking with advisors, and finding out, okay, what's our next step in this? And what we came up with was that we established a program that I call the Ursuline Fit program. And we established that in that we can say that it's the You Fit program. And that's the message to our students is that you fit, you belong here. But we started out with what we're calling the immersion camp. And we went with the name immersion camp just to get away from the idea of boot camp, which tends to have a little bit of a negative vibe to it. But what we had this immersion camp put into place. And at the time, because of our timing on it, we were unable to make it mandatory for our conditionally admitted students and our pre-nursing students. But we invited those students to the camp, and then we also put an invite out to any new student. In fact, I even got phone calls from students who had not received an invite asking if they could come because somebody they knew from high school was coming and they wanted to come as well. So I had originally planned, I thought we would probably have about 15 students. We had 27 students in our first year of the camp. We have worked with admissions to change the catalog, change the message that goes out to students to make it a mandatory 3-day academic camp for conditionally admitted students and our pre-nursing students. And the good news is from those students who were in the program last August, this program occurs right before our new student orientation. So these students get to move in a little bit early. They go through the camp. They have an opportunity to meet a number of faculty, staff. They're getting a head start on meeting the support on the campus. We had 100% of those students move from fall to spring. So and one of the, some of the nice feedback I've heard about the camp is, and I've heard this from coaches who had athletes in there, that at the time the students didn't realize how helpful it would be, but as they moved through the semester, they realized how helpful all the topics were that they went through the camp. So we're very excited to have this UFIT program, the Ursuline Fit program, continue to grow. And we're also exploring what other things need to go into this program. But we're super excited to get into year 2 of the immersion camp. I think this slide really kind of sums up what our successes have been with these programs, in that we were able to, I came on board in the end of July of 18. So there really was only a couple weeks to try to get things started before school was in session. So really that whole first semester was spent kind of on a little bit of a listening tour in seeing what was going on campus. But if you look at the first square in the upper left, you can see that in 2018 we had 71% of retention, and through all of the collaboration we had on campus, through all of these new programs, I work very closely with coaches. I work very closely with a number of faculty who are big proponents of getting students into resources quickly. And it's with everybody working together that we were able to significantly increase retention. But if you look at our conditional students, our underrepresented students, and our pre-nursing students, you see significant improvement in just 1 year of what we were doing with these students. And my expectation is that this continues, because we put things in place. We have some new initiatives going in. One of those is online orientation, so that we have a place where students can continue to go back and find out information. And students will be completing the online orientation before they even get to the new student orientation on campus. So we're just looking to keep, it's what's the important factor here is to not get complacent and realize that students change, and different students come in every year, but more and more we see students that need additional resources. And my expectation is that continues, that it doesn't get better, that we have to have less resources. We have to have more resources, and we need to tailor those resources.
The other thing, Nancy, that really was encouraging as a result of the camps on campus was that students started reaching out as a result of attending the Ursuline Fit program, as well as the revised content in the orientation programs. Students started reaching out way earlier than.
Yeah, one of the things that we did was we preached, get help before you need help. And within the first week, I had about 30 students come through my office and say, hey, who do I need to contact? And our tutoring increased 300% from the semester before, just based on that students started earlier. So we had students coming in getting help already in the first week, that they recognized that, okay, math is not my strength. I can see I'm going to need help. I'm going to get in right now. And that message is important. Getting students in before they actually need help is going to increase their chance for success. I know it sounds obvious, but a lot of times students will not reach out. And you have to remember, these are Gen Z students. They will not reach out. You have to go to them, and you have to make that.
You also instituted a first-year student survey.
Yes, yes. One of the things that I added to orientation, and it is actually online now, and it is a part of our online orientation, is a new student survey where we get an idea of what their challenges might be before school starts. And they put their name on the survey so that I know. I don't share out that part of information, but I know what students, so that it allows me to approach the student or just drop an email. I've been known to, I don't like to call it stalking, but I do, if students won't respond, I a lot of times conveniently show up outside their class as the class is getting out. And again, it's a part of intrusive advising.
We did summarize the results of the survey for a PowerPoint for the new retention committee or committee. So at the end of the HLC, which was actually this spring, our HLC Academy, we were asked to create a sustainability plan. Nancy was our sustainability plan for the most part, and we had already implemented that. So there's a new team that is more what you'd call institutionalized, so that it's part of the, we're not sure if it's a faculty committee yet, but this is a slightly different group. The Academy was a 4-year engagement. It is now a 3-year engagement. So it was a pretty long slog, and we were done really with it in 3 years. So, so that was one of the, having the understanding of the first-year students early on was another thing that helped, I think, helped Nancy to get it. You did something, remember, like in the first year that like just gave them like a 5-question survey.
Yeah, yeah.
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 That was very, very interesting how students characterized themselves early on and how things played out. That was really useful, I think, for them, you know. So we have the schedule from the first year for the camp, the immersion camp.
Yeah, on this, with this schedule, what I did was I enlisted the help of faculty. So what I did was I went through my list of faculty, and I knew who was the most concerned about retention and who really cared about student success. And I invited them all to a meeting, and I had our food service provide brownies and fruit so that I could bribe folks as needed. And I showed them this, and I began to talk about it. And one faculty person said to me, "Well, you're not going to teach this all yourself." And I replied, "Well, this is where the brownies and fruit come in." So at that moment, they signed on to do this. And this occurred, I believe faculty came back around the 15th of August, and we started on the 14th. So we did have faculty that came. As you can see, these sessions lasted a little over an hour and 15, hour and a half. And faculty came in and were able to meet this new group of students and go over these things. I think one thing that was particularly helpful was the math, because I find that most students come in not being confident about math. And because we have the mother houses right on our campus, and a number of the sisters, the Ursuline sisters, do tutoring. They actually have an education center associated with them. And it was a good way to introduce additional tutors and resources to the students, because they enjoyed coming in and teaching this. So it was fun for me. I had breakfast with them every day, and every day on that Thursday and Friday, I said to them, "What was your takeaway from the day before?" And I was very excited by what I heard, that I really did hear students that were taking it seriously, and students that said things that they were excited to be able to use these things moving forward.
Nancy, I have a question. If you wouldn't mind going back to that schedule, Did you look at like students' schedules to determine these times, or did you just kind of, you know, make adjustments as you went, or?
This was before school started.
Oh, okay.
So this was actually, move-in day would be that Saturday, the
Okay.
Saturday after this. So these students got to move in on Tuesday evening. You know, I got Jimmy John's sandwiches. We just had a little meeting, and everybody, whether they were a commuter student or a student who was living on campus, we all met for breakfast. And then we had more of a formal meeting, and we escorted them to where they were. So the students were actually starting 3 days early. The good part was they got to sleep in Saturday while everybody else moved in until official activities at noon.
Sure.
Marilyn, it looks like there's a couple of questions in the chat as well from Joe. His first question is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing, COVID aside, in your student engagement? And then his second question was, and he apologizes if you said this, what's the definition of retention that you're using?
Well, the definition of retention that I focus on are those students that go from their freshman year to the sophomore year. The school itself, we talk about different definitions of that, not only looking at that freshman year to the sophomore year, but also moving on from the sophomore year to the junior year. Because the freshman year generally tends to be the highest attrition, and the sophomore year tends to be the second. So that's one of those things that we know that we need to focus on. But and then when we look at persistence, a lot of folks, you know, faculty is included in this, really don't get the connection between retention and persistence. They kind of look at those as the same thing, and they're not, because you can consider someone persisting who continues their education no matter where to graduation. But because my focus is on those first year students, and that's not to say that I don't look at everybody's success, because I do, but looking at those first year students because of the high attrition rate of first year students, I tend to look at retention as persisting to that sophomore year, and then again to the junior year. And I'm sorry, the other question was the biggest challenges.
Yeah, so the other question is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing, COVID aside, in your student engagement?
You know, I think the biggest challenge that we find is, number one, because there's so many underprepared students, that students do not do well with reading textbooks, and so therefore they don't do a lot of those things. And then the other side of the coin is faculty not necessarily recognizing that. This year I had the opportunity to go into high schools and talk about what it takes to be a successful college student. And I've gone into high schools where they're not even using textbooks, which to me was a red flag, saying, okay, that's going to be a problem, because you will still have faculty that are not going to do a dog and pony show, and the expectation is that you're going to take notes, and you're going to listen to the lecture, and you're going to do whatever work is connected to that. So that's what I see as the biggest problem with engagement, is that we have underprepared students who are not interested in reading a textbook and are more interested in just kind of the dog and pony show part of it.
Thank you.
Were there any additional questions?
Nancy, there's one here from Sean McLaughlin at Otterbein. Have you collected data or other analytics for these interventions, early alert, personal librarian, Ursuline Fit, et cetera? And are you planning to use those for any retention predictive models or program evaluation?
Yeah, that is the plan with them. You know, through the personal librarian, was where we were able to get the 300%, the 300% increase in tutoring. Because we've only gone through 1 year of the immersion camp, we were able to see that 100%, and I'm anxious to see what that will look like moving forward. So the short answer is we will be doing more analytics with that, and we are using that. This is all intended so that we can do some predictive models. Actually, through the early alert system, there is that system. If you do the full system, actually provides that. So my hope is that once we see how things shake out after the COVID, that we can move on to that, because it would be helpful, I think, for everybody to be able to produce these models. I hope that answered that question for you. Are there any other questions? I think we're out of time.
So it looks like Hong Zi actually just asked a question. She said, do you do a very good approach to approving graduation rates? Do you do that during the whole semester time or a specific time? We have student success coaches to reach out to students after registration opens to reach out who are not enrolled for next semester. And that's University of Toledo.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on outreach to students. I find out very quickly who is not registered, and sometimes they're not registered because they might have a hold. But I make sure that I contact those students, and I just simply put it out there. I see you're not registered. How can I help? And then I get all kinds of notes back on that. So this is kind of an ongoing thing. One of the things that is helpful is letting students know that they have, maybe they have a balance, and I've tried to do that early. In fact, this year I let students know that they had a balance that would prevent them from registering even before spring break. The reply from students was simply, "Thank you. I'm glad I know the time frame, and I'm going to get this taken care of." These are all things that are important to when you're looking at graduation rates and looking at retention and persistence.
Yeah, we started working on that, reaching those. There's two different pieces there. What Nancy mentioned with the financial piece, heretofore students were just getting a form letter in the mail, and it was like right at the same time of registration was starting. And when I asked someone about that, they said, well, yeah, those are the ones that register late. So once we started getting on top of that, we felt that had a huge impact when Nancy was reaching out much earlier to them. And then the second thing is that we had started posting all the students that had previously been registered, and then sharing that file with faculty and program directors, deans, so that they could, we're a small school and tons of students come back. Sometimes they are readmitted. They think the grass is greener, and then they come back. And so, we've been able to get a handle on why students aren't enrolling yet. And Nancy was able to give reasons. And so we're really, as well. And so we're really trying to get a better handle on that by going back 2 years and looking at who's been enrolled previously or even further. There's another initiative I just got requested for this week for going back 10 years. And that's data we've been already gathering. So sounds like what you're doing, University of Toledo, is similar, Hongli. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Was there one more? Or is that just a?
Thanks.
Okay. Thank
You
you.
want
You're
to maybe give
welcome.
everybody your contact info there too? Maybe one more slide just in case.
Yes. Yeah, so please, reach out if you have questions about software we use or
Well, and please reach out and share what you're doing, because I would love to hear from other folks about what sort of things are working at your campus. Because I think it would be really helpful to all of us if we can continue to share those sort of things.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Molly,
much.
for your help.
Very welcome.
Chief Technology Officer.
No, I do not accept that. All right.
I like the Queen one. Okay, we'll take that.
All right, everybody. I'll see you at our
Okay,
last
thank you,
slide. Almost
everybody.
there. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.